All right, all praises, all praises. I want to give a shout out and first give all praise, honor, and glory to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of Israel, the creator of all things, the creator of heaven and earth. And send a shout out to the 12 tribes scattered across the world. It's a beautiful night tonight, and we gonna get some understanding tonight. We gonna get some understanding tonight. What we gonna talk about tonight is we got this wicked holiday. I know Israel. I know it gets hard on these holidays. You got the store. The stores are closed. Everybody is in the holiday spirit. This is the only time of the year people try to be nice. If they ain't robbing you, trying to get money for Christmas gifts. But it's that wicked time of the year. Wicked time of the year. And we gonna get some understanding because this is the time of the year that has to do with our brothers and our sisters. This is the time of the year where there's a hidden truth or the hidden agenda and the hidden truth that people don't know about this wicked holiday. So we're gonna go over some history today. We got a lot of information. We gonna try not to be all night tonight. So, if anybody got anything to add, put it in the chat. Any facts, put it in the chat. Let us know. Let's get understanding. We love knowledge here. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, man. We ain't gonna be all night with this wicked talking about this wicked holiday. So we know when we was younger, we all know what they told us about Thanksgiving. It was about the Pilgrims and the Indians coming together, creating a peace treaty, and coming together and giving us big feasts to, I guess, celebrate this newfound friendship, this newfound love that the Pilgrims and the Indians had for each other. That the Indians were so kind to just welcome in these settlers, welcome them in, share the land with them, and everyone was happy to it became a whole national holiday and something that's going on in America, the beginning of America, basically. So first we're gonna start with that. The pilgrims arriving to what is now called America, and the Indians was already here. So now we gonna open up in the book. Uh Open up the book cover. There's a book cover. Uh go to the files. Is book cover one. Now you gotta right click it. Yeah. So let's share that out. My bad. So we're gonna give y'all this book that we're gonna be reading from that got all the history in it. There we go. So this is the book. See if you can zoom in on it. Just open it up. Go back to it. Yeah, so this is called This Land is Their Land by David Silverman. He actually interviewed the descendants of the Indians that was in the land that the pilgrims came to, and he actually interviewed them and got the full history from the Indians, because the history is verbal to them. It's verbally passed down to the Indians that was in that land that when the pilgrims arrived. So they don't got nothing written down. They got the verbal history. They know exactly what happened. So David Silverman, he went and interviewed them, did all the research, did all the interviews, and this is the book he wrote. So we're going to go in this book and get some history. So let's go to page 23 of this book. So what we're talking about now is the pilgrims coming to this land. So we're going to get page 23 of this book. All right, see if I can see that. If y'all can see that clear, put a 1 in the chat. If y'all can read that, see what they say in the chat. If y'all can see that, put a 1 in the chat. Okay, they can see it. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead. Let's go back to that. Let's read that, the highlighted part.
Europeans, also called America a new world because it had previously been unknown to them.
It said it was previously unknown to them, to the Europeans. Go ahead.
Yet there was little wild or new about this place, as one can see from the Plymouth colonists' own writings, even if the authors missed the point. When the Mayflower reached Cape Cod in November 1620, the English had only to set foot on shore to encounter evidence of a civilization created by the Cape's indigenous people, the Wampanoags.
So yeah, those are the Wampanoags, and I want to say, give a disclaimer. Want to apologize to our brothers and sisters, the tribe of Gad, the Indians, Native American Indians, for our mispronouncing of these of these names that we about to shatter tonight. I want to apologize early for that. But it's called the Wampanoag. So the Wampanoag are the people that was already here in New England. This is where they was at. They went to New England. This is where the pilgrims came to, the Wampanoag tribe that was in New England. Go ahead.
Even though the natives already had moved inland for the winter.
So it said that when they came, that was the Mayflower. The Mayflower was the ship they rode in on. When they rode in on the Mayflower in 1620, they said it was evident that the indigenous people was there. So it wasn't a new world. People was already here. Go to page 28 of this book. We'll go to page 28. So now we see that the Wampanoag man, we go be slaughtering these words, these names all night. But the Wampanoag tribe was already there in New England when the Mayflower pulled up. So let's read this here. You gotta add it. All right, go back. Read that highlighted.
Let us discard the notion of America as a new world.
So in his book, he said we need to discard that America wasn't a new world. It was our people was already here. Go ahead.
Never mind a savage wilderness, as there is no better way to begin a reorientation
Yeah.
toward a Wapana centered history of Plymouth and Thanksgiving.
Go to that second highlighted part.
Whereas archaeologists trace Native American origins to Siberia and South Asia, some indigenous people contend that they sprang out of the ground into their homelands, like the corn that has sustained them for centuries.
So as he said, some indigenous people said we sprang out from the ground. That ain't true. We go read how our people got to America. Go ahead.
Others tell of their distant forebears migrating to the homeland from other parts of Turtle Island, as they refer to America. Despite the variety of such origin stories, they all
go to page 29. So he said, despite the variety of such origin stories, because there's so many, it's a variety of origin stories how the native people got to America. There's so many origin stories. But he said, despite all these origin stories, watch this. Read that. It said, they all, go ahead.
They all agree on a fundamental point.
It said they all agree on one point. Go ahead.
Indians are not only the first people of America.
It say not only are they the first people of America, go ahead.
They are ancient.
They are ancient, meaning they was here a long time ago. They've been in America in ancient times. Go ahead.
By the time Europeans arrived on the scene, there was nothing new about this world except what indigenous people had created during their long history.
So it's like by the time them pilgrims got here, it was nothing new. By the time they got here, this land has been lived on, farmed on, all types of stuff. It was nothing new by the time they got here. So now let's read in the Bible how our people got here. So let's go to 2nd Esdras chapter 13. Let's read how our people got here. 2nd Esdras 13, and we're going to start at verse 40.
The book of 2nd Esdras. The book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 13 and verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Osiah, the king whom Salmanassar, the king of Assyria, led away captive.
So remember, the 10 tribes, the northern kingdom, was in the Assyrian captivity. We got a class on that online. Go back and get that history. Go ahead.
And he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land.
And said they came into another land. Go ahead.
But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave their multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt.
So when they was getting out of the Assyrian captivity, they said, look, we're going to go into a further country where never mankind dwelt. These are the 10 tribes. These are the northern kingdom. They said we're going to go to a country where nobody has inhabited yet. Verse 42.
Verse 42, that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land.
Go ahead.
And they entered into Euphrates, by the narrow passages of the river.
Yeah, passage. Go ahead.
Passages of the river.
Go ahead.
For the Most High then showed signs for them, and they inhaled still the flood till they were passed over.
So the Most High carried them. He didn't allow no big storms, no floods. He gave them a safe passage. Let's see how long this passage was.
For though that country there was a great way to go, namely for a year and a half, and the same region is called Azareth.
Awesome.
Arsareth.
So it said it took them a year and a half to get to this place called Arsareth. So let's see what is this place Arsareth. Let's go to that the Jewish Encyclopedia. Share that out. Arsareth. So let's see what this Arsareth is. So we're gonna put this link in the chat. Yeah, put that in the chat so y'all can even go back and click this. So we got that link in the chat for y'all so y'all can go read this full. We just gonna read that first paragraph.
The name of the land beyond the great river, far away from the habitation of man, in which the 10 tribes of Israel will dwell.
That's what we just read, in which the 10 tribes of Israel would dwell. Go ahead.
Observing the laws of Moses until the time of the restoration, according to 5 ESD.
Right. 13:45.
Yeah,
that's what we just read. Go ahead. Watch this. Go ahead.
Columbus identified America with this land.
Read that part again.
Columbus identified America with this land.
It said Columbus identified America with this land. How y'all think Columbus knew that the Indians was in America in 1492? He used the Bible. He used the book of Esdras to find them. That's what happened. Then it said Columbus identified America with this land. So the Bible is letting us know how the so-called Indians got to America. This was way before Christ. This was a apocrypha that we read about this. So there's a link in the chat. Y'all can go back. There's also, you can read about this. There's a book called, read that next paragraph.
The name, it has been suggested by Schiller Schnezi.
My bad. Read that where it say Columbus identified America with this land. Read that in the parentheses.
C. Kesseling's Christopher Columbus, translated by Dr. C. Gross. Page 15.
So there's a book about Christopher Columbus. If you go to that book and say on page 15, you will see how Columbus, she got a book where it was a book she used that she written with Columbus, all Columbus notes. And she wrote a book, and in his notes, that's what he got. He used second Esdras 13 and 45 to find the 10 tribes. That's why he had Hebrew translators with him, because he knew he was going to find the Jews.
So during the time of Christ, when he was doing his work, Gad was already in America.
Yeah.
Already, dang.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's already here.
That
was already here.
I did not know that.
They was already.
Man, they've been here for a minute. Then.
It was a nice remnant. Of course, they were scattered, but part of it was America. Part of it was America.
Okay.
So now let's go to where we at. Let me see where we at.
Second Esdras 13.
The history book, page 7. Okay, so now let's get another source. We got another book, the book two, page 7. Well, before you can do that, bring up the cover, book 2 cover. Yeah. So we got another book that we're gonna be reading out of. Let's pull that up. This is the second book we're gonna be reading out of. So this book here is called The Real History of Thanksgiving by Carla DeGroat. The Real History of Thanksgiving. This is from an actual Wanapag. Once again, I'm sorry we slaughter these names. The Wanapag tribes, this is a descendant. She wrote this book. So now, go to page 7 of this book. And you can close some of them tabs out. Go to page 7, yeah. So let's read some facts out this book. Matter of fact, go to page 6. My bad, page 6, I'm sorry. But we gonna need 7 too. Page 6. So we see how the so-called Indians got to America way before the Pilgrims. The Pilgrims didn't start getting there till the 1400s. So let's read this page here. Is it sharing out? Page 6. Yeah. Can you see that out?
Yeah.
There we go.
It's good right there. Y'all ready?
Yeah.
The history of Thanksgiving usually begins with English immigrants, commonly called the Pilgrims, and their trek across the Atlantic Ocean on the Mayflower.
On the Mayflower. The Mayflower was the name of the boat. Go ahead.
They landed in present-day Massachusetts.
So where they landed is in Massachusetts. This is where the real history is. That's in Massachusetts. It's still got the so-called Indians. They still there. But it said they landed in present-day Massachusetts. Go ahead.
In the late fall of 1620 and created a settlement called Plymouth Colony.
That's where y'all get the way Malcolm X say, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. Go ahead.
The Pilgrims called themselves saints.
And they had the nerve to call themselves saints because guess what they were? They were Christians. Christianity Christians. Let's get page 7. And that's going to play a key role in this history. They were Christianity Christians. Get page 7. All right, zoom in on that. All right. So we just go read the pink.
Long before the Pilgrims arrived, indigenous tribes occupied North Atlantic coast of North America.
It say long before they arrived. Go ahead.
These tribes had lived there for many generations in prosperous towns and villages. They were farmers who grew crops such as corn, beans, and squash. Each of these tribes has its own language, culture, and government. When the Pilgrims arrived, they built Plymouth Colony on Wamapa land.
It say the Pilgrims was on the Wampanoag land. Yeah, we slaughtering that. It just feel like we slaughtering that name.
Now we most definitely are.
And I didn't heard them say it, pronounce it so many times. I still excuse our country, man. But it said they built Plymouth. They built the Plymouth colony on their land. On their land. I stop sharing this. Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 29. Deuteronomy chapter 29 and verse 24.
Deuteronomy chapter 29 and verse 24. Even all nations shall say, wherefore hath the Lord done thus unto this land? What meaneth the heat of this great anger?
Go ahead.
Then men shall say, because they have forsaken the covenant of the Lord God of their fathers.
So remember, the northern kingdom was one of the wicked kingdoms. They was the ones that went off first. That's why they was the ones that was scattered first. Go ahead.
Which he made with them when he brought them forth out of the land of Egypt. For they went and served other gods and worshipped them, gods whom they knew not, and whom he had not given unto them.
Go ahead.
And the anger of the Lord was kindled against this land to bring upon it all the curses that are written in the book.
So what was one of the curses? Verse 28.
And the Lord rooted them out of their land in anger.
So it said, and the Lord rooted them out of their land in anger. He rooted. This happened to the northern kingdom first. He said he rooted them out of the land in anger. Go ahead.
And in wrath and in great indignation, and cast them into another land.
And he cast them into another land. Go ahead.
As it is this day.
And they still in this land till this day. It was it happened to the northern kingdom first. And one of the first lands that or the second, because first they was in the Assyrian captivity. After that, a nice remnant of them went to Osiris, where Columbus identified this land with America. Now let's go back to that page 7 that we was just reading, and let's read that yellow highlighted part. The yellow highlighted part on page 7, or was it 8? No, page 7. All right, let's read that. Right now, we're gonna read the highlighted, the yellow highlight.
In the spring of 1621.
So in the spring of 1621, remember they got there in 1620. Go ahead.
2 Wampanoag Sachems, or leaders, Massasoit.
That's I heard them pronounce that.
Massasoit.
Yeah.
And what is that? Samoset?
Yeah.
Met with the Pilgrims. Their goal was to create an alliance.
So it said their goal was to create a alliance. So the reason why the Pilgrims, not the Pilgrims, the so-called Indians, the Wampanoag tribe, allowed the Pilgrims to come in 1620 was because years before that, they were dying by the plague. That's when the other Europeans they was bringing diseases in, they not trying to kill them, they did kill them. Read that next part.
Between 1616 and 1619, up to 90% of the indigenous population in the Plymouth region died from European diseases.
You see that? It said from 1616 to 1619, 90% Remember, the European people had been coming there from 1492 when Columbus came. In 1492 all the way through. So they had been coming back, uh, capturing slaves, bringing in what they call that, the something pox, smallpox. Bring them, they had already been killing them. So it said, read the next part.
The many deaths in their tribe weakened the Wampanoag, and tensions between the
Now go to page 8. So it said many deaths, those many deaths had weakened a lot of so-called Indian tribes. So in 1620, they was watching out. They was, when you read in this book, they was watching out for them. They wasn't just letting the pilgrims. They didn't just let the pilgrims come in the land. It took them months before they started even dealing with them. But at the same time, they knew if they created a peace treaty with them, they would have some protection against these diseases, against the other Europeans that was coming, because there was many Europeans coming in. So they like, damn, we need to create a military alliance with these people, because it's 90% of us died in 3 years. So now you're getting the mentality of, because I know we like, why they trust why they trust the Edomites. It was for, they was trying to survive themselves. So let's read page
that's the same thing happened in Maccabees too. When the Israelites was aligning themselves with the heathen.
right. Read that part. You got that? We sharing that out? All right.
The highlighted pink. The pilgrims were also in desperate
No,
need.
read my bad, that top part. It's the continuation of
Okay.
where I say and tensions between the
Wampanoag and the Narragansett were rising. Here we go. This Quantum, a member of the Patuak, a band of the Wampanoag, translated during the meeting.
So this Quantum is also known as Squanto. That's Squanto. Squanto was the ones that, because Squanto was a slave. And, he was captured when he was a child, took back to Spain, was a slave, and ended up coming back to the America on a ride with his. I think he became a free man, got free, came back with the Europeans, and he, by that time, he knew how to speak English and the language of the Indians. So he was the one that translated and negotiated the peace treaty. So now let's go back to Deuteronomy 28. Because why was the Indians, the so-called Indians, dying from these European diseases? 28. Deuteronomy 28, and let's start at 58. It was because of the curses.
Deuteronomy 28 and verse 58. If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, the Lord thy God.
Verse 59.
Then the
He
Lord
said, if you don't, my bad, if you don't observe to do all the words of this law, go ahead.
Then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful.
He said he gonna bring plagues, wonderful, great plagues. Go ahead.
And the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and of long continuance, and sore sickness, and long continuance.
He said, I'm gonna bring these sore sickness and plagues on you. Go ahead.
Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou wast afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee.
Go ahead.
And every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed.
And what shall happen? Verse 62.
And ye shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Lord thy God.
He said, and you gonna be left few in number. That's what happened to the Wampanoag tribe. The diseases was killed. It killed off 90% of them. So what happened was they was left few in number. So what did they do? They said we need to team up with these pilgrims. We need to team up with them because we don't have no defense. We don't have any protection. We can't protect ourselves from all these Europeans coming in. So maybe if we create an alliance with these pilgrims, we'll have some protection. This is the mind frame that was going on with the so-called Indians. Now let's get book one, page 129. So now let's look at how did the pilgrims arrive. The pilgrims came in 1620 with 102 Christianity Christians. They came in with 100 on the Mayflower. They came in with 102 Christianity Christians. Let's read about it. Page 129 in the book one. The land, what's called? This Land is Their Land by David Silverman. We go read on page 129. You know what? My bad. Give 128. 128 first. So now we in the history. We gonna read this history on how did these pilgrims come and what was their mind frame. So we want page 128, and this land is their land, and we gonna read the yellow highlight.
The Thanksgiving myth also distorts history by making the famous feast the seal of the Wampanoag English alliance and a symbol of colonial America.
So it say this is what that alliance that the Wampanoag tribe or Squanto negotiated and translated and worked out. That's the only part of the history that they tell us. That's the only part of the history that they tell us. They stop it there. That's why it's called the Thanksgiving myth. Go ahead.
Yet, to the historical actors, the event was a minor affair compared with other milestones in their relationship.
So he said just because that little peace treaty that they negotiated on that so-called Thanksgiving, that was a minor event on what else happened. Go.
English records running hundreds of pages dedicate only a handful of lines to the legendary first Thanksgiving.
So it said the English records of hundreds of pages of English records, they only got a couple of lines that talks about the first Thanksgiving. Let's get page 129. Go to the second highlighted part. Yeah. I'll share it out. So we in the same book, page 129.
The Mayflower, by contrast, reached the Cape in November 1620.
So we read that already. Go ahead.
As winter was setting in, a month or so after most of the Wampanoags had left the exposed seashore for the shelter of inland tree stands and hills.
So it said when the Pilgrims got there, it was on the edge of winter. It was on the now mind you, if y'all I don't know if y'all familiar with Boston in Massachusetts, it gets cold up there. We're in New England. It gets cold there in the winter. It gets cold. It's cold. So the so-called Indians, they was already going. They had already moved. They had already migrated to the safety parts of the land. But when the Pilgrims came, so now let's go to page 130. Let's go to page 130. And we go read that yellow part. So they got there in the winter. Let's see who they came with.
Though the Mayflower, different cross section of the Europeans than the usual roughnecks.
So it said the Mayflower didn't have the roughnecks. It said usually the main type of Europeans that came was the roughnecks, the dirty, dingy Europeans coming. It said the Pilgrims, they wasn't the roughnecks. They was a different type of Europeans. Go ahead.
There was no way Wampanoag to have known the religious impulse behind its mission.
So they said they didn't know that these Pilgrims came with a religion mission. Go ahead.
Most of the 102 passengers were a type of Reformed Protestant known
Protestant.
as Protestant, known as separatists.
So they were separatists. This was a type of Christianity, and there was 102 of them. Read that pink part.
Though they certainly hoped to make a living in America and perhaps even to strike it rich, their main purpose was to create a society where they and like-minded Christians could worship as they saw fit.
So you see that they came to create a society with like-minded Christians. He had nothing to do. They didn't care who was there. They wasn't messing with the so-called Indians. They came on a religion agenda. These were 102 Protestant separatists, a form of Christianity Christians that came with a religion mission. Now let's go to the first book, page 6 of the first book. Yeah, book 2, page 6. Now you know what we already read that. So now go to we want page 8. Book 2, page 8. So when they got there, remember they got there in winter. It was 102 of them. Let's see what happened in this winter. Book, and we gonna read the pink part this time.
The Pilgrims were also in desperate need of allies. They were in foreign lands and lacked the necessary food.
So they didn't have the necessary food, go ahead,
resources, and knowledge to survive.
He said they didn't have the food, the resources, or even knew how to survive in the Arsawath or America. Go ahead.
Nearly half the Pilgrims died from illness during their first winter in Plymouth.
So they were dying their first, remember they came in winter. So that first couple months, they was dying. They say nearly half of them died. Go ahead.
Those who survived lived by stealing from the graves.
So the ones that survived, They lived from stealing from the graves of the Wampanoag. They going to the cemetery because the so-called Indians used to bury items with the dead. They said so they can carry it into the afterlife. Remember, they was in idolatry at the time. So they was basically grave robbing to survive the rest of the pilgrims. So they was dying off. Go to book 1, page 167. So we doing, we seeing what's happening in this 1620 when they first came. So let's get book 1, page 167, and we gonna get the pink highlighted. Well, you know what? Get yeah, 167, yeah. The pink, yeah. You sharing it out? All right, let's go.
Despite, you just want pink.
Start at the pink part.
English had good reasons to pause for celebration in late November 1621. The colony had survived a terrible first winter and the death of half its population.
Remember, it said they survived. They said they had good reason to celebrate in 1621 because they survived that first winter. But remember, say half of them died. Jump to the yellow part.
The colony was now capable of sustaining itself.
Let's say the colony, it took them a year. It took them a year and half of them dying, but after that, they knew how to sustain themselves. Go ahead.
Partly through its own labor, partly through trade.
Go ahead. Go to 168. Let's get 168. So who y'all think taught them? The Wampanoag tribe taught them how to survive. Let's get 168. Let's read that yellow. So it said, last part, it said they knew how to sustain themselves through trade. Go ahead.
With the Wampanoag.
So they knew they was trading with the Wampanoag. Go ahead.
Tisquantum had taught the colonists how to cultivate maize for the first time in their lives.
So Squanto taught them how to cultivate maize. Go ahead.
Including planting the seeds in holes made with digging sticks, forming hills around the stalks as they grew, and fertilizing each plant with herring from nearby streams.
Jump to the pink.
Additionally, the colonists had erected 7 dwelling houses and 4 public buildings and received their first shipload of reinforcements. Given all these developments, Plymouth had reasonable hope for a better winter ahead. That is, if the Narragansetts did not attack.
That means if the other tribes didn't attack them. Go ahead.
Having passed through one crisis after another, Plymouth leaders decided that sometime in late September or early October, after the harvest was in,
because they had a harvest now, because Squanto taught them how to plant. The so-called Indians taught them how to plant and survive. So they was gonna have a beautiful harvest coming in. So he said after the harvest was in, go ahead.
The people should set aside some time to rejoice together. It is the event that posterity has lionized as the first Thanksgiving.
It said this is what was called the first Thanksgiving. Go ahead.
Though the participants did not think of it as a Thanksgiving.
It said, but they didn't think of it as a Thanksgiving. So this is what they called the first Thanksgiving. They was the pilgrims came, they was dying because they came in the winter. The so-called Indians, remember, they wanted to align with them because they was dying off too. So they teamed up with them, taught them how to plant, taught them how to survive in America. And when they seen the harvest coming, they decided, you know what? Let's have a feast. This is what was called the first Thanksgiving. But the Indians didn't know something. Go to page let me see where we at. So go to page book 2, page 14. So this is known as the first Thanksgiving in 1621. Book 2, page 14. We going through this real slow, y'all. Real slow. Book 2, page 14. And let's read that.
Historians debate what the first Thanksgiving looked like and whether it was planned. This is because few primary sources on the history of the event exist. The history of Thanksgiving is also often missing Native American perspective. Two written accounts are from pilgrims about the event that we now think of as the first Thanksgiving.
So he said there's two accounts. So we have two accounts written in English books. Edward Winslow and William Bradford, they wrote about this account. We don't have no accounts from the Indians about this Thanksgiving. And the account from the Indians, go to page 15. Let's see what they say. Page 15. Let's see what the accounts say about this first Thanksgiving. All right, read that.
Plymouth Colony, Edward Winslow, and William Bradford wrote them.
So these are the Plymouth Colony people that wrote the two accounts. Go ahead.
In Mort's relation, Winslow describes a gathering after the colonists had finished their harvest. A group of 90 Wampanoag, including Massasoit, joined them for a 3-day event.
So this is what the Pilgrims wrote. So they had 90 Indians and the leaders joined them for a 3-day Thanksgiving. Go ahead.
Winslow wrote that the saints survived by the grace of goodness of God, not crediting the Wampanoag for their help.
They said God saved them, not the Wampanoag. Go ahead.
And of Plymouth Plantation, Bradford details the settlers' harvest of that year, including a mention of wild turkeys. Neither Winslow nor Bradford account mentions thanks or Thanksgiving. Following this Thanksgiving, indigenous people suffered from loss of land, war, death, and disease.
It said, scroll back up. It said, following this first Thanksgiving, indigenous people suffer from loss of land, war, death, and disease. Meaning what? Those pilgrims had a plot when they came over. They just took advantage of the so-called Indians because they was weak at that time. They was weak at that time. But they had a plot. So now we gonna look at the second Thanksgiving. What happened in the second Thanksgiving? Get book number 2, page 19, if it's up there. Did we get page 19? Looks like we didn't get it. Let me see. So we gonna read we just go read page 19. Get page 20 though. So this is what is known as the second Thanksgiving. Read this out. So we just go read this, and then we go pull up page 20. So we just go read page 19 real quick. And then after we read 19, bring up 20. So read that.
Over the next few hundred years, there were many days of Thanksgiving, but Thanksgiving was still not a holiday. In 1637,
So 1637, that's like, what's that? 16 years after the first Thanksgiving. Go ahead.
in 1637, Governor John Winthrop of the Massachusetts Bay Colony had a day of Thanksgiving to celebrate the return of their men from a battle against.
So he said this was the second Thanksgiving. They had Thanksgiving after the battle of their man against who? Bring up page 20. Go ahead.
Of Parkway, tribe of Mystic, Connecticut.
So it said after the Pequot tribe at Mystic, Connecticut. Go ahead.
That battle devastated the Pequot. Over 700 men, women, and children were enslaved and massacred, giving this day of Thanksgiving a grim meaning.
It said they had a Thanksgiving after they killed 700 so-called Indians, men, women, and children. This is the second Thanksgiving. So in 1621, after the Pilgrims had the first one, those years, they had many Europeans, many other pilgrims came through. In 16 years, you can imagine a gang of other pilgrims came through. When a gang of other pilgrims came through and they felt like they had the power, they felt like they had they came with weapons, they had the military, or they said, oh, now we can take this land from them. So what did they do? They went to war in 1637, 16 years after the so-called first Thanksgiving. They went to war and killed over 700 men. Let's play this video. Play this first video, National Day of Mourning. The last one. Go over. Yeah. Share that out. So we gonna play this video of the national. So just to let y'all know, every year on Thanksgiving, guess what? The so-called Indians protest Thanksgiving. How do they protest Thanksgiving? They started their own holiday called the National Day of Mourning. The National Day of Mourning is basically where they literally protest Thanksgiving and tell the real history of Thanksgiving. So that's what we should be doing. We should be joining our brothers and sisters on National Day of Mourning and telling the real truth about Thanksgiving. Play this. Is this sharing out? All right, let's play this.
Thanksgiving is what's represented right here on this pole. Mystic Massacre is what we call it. The Pequot War. It goes by many names. It happened in 1637 down in Connecticut. Owners of the now established Foxwoods. The Pequot people were burned alive in the middle of their sleep at night in 1637.
Yeah, full screen.
Mass Bay Colony, Plymouth Colony, Providence Plantation, Mystic Seaport, all English colonies banded together to burn women and children while they slept in a village at night. They barricaded the exit.
Well, that's what we just read in the history book. In 1637, he's telling the story. He's a descendant of the Wampanoag. He's telling the story, the real backstory, the hidden truth that the so-called America don't tell. Go ahead.
They did not allow anyone to leave. They wanted them to burn. They were proud that they burned. This country was proud to write. We could smell their burning, rotting flesh for over a mile away. It's written, folks. Please read it on your own. I am not making this up. Stephen King can't make this up. He was so proud, the town of Norwich, Connecticut, had a statue honoring this man up until roughly a decade ago. John Mason, the man who murdered over 700 people. When anyone, the few people who were able to survive that Holocaust, they were rounded up. They were sold as slaves. Before they were sold, they were marched all the way from Connecticut to Mass Bay Colony, present-day Boston. They were placed on trial. They were declared to be sold as slaves. But before they sent them on that slave ship, they had to humiliate them some more. And they read a declaration that those people shall not ever, once again, even utter the word Pequot. They will no longer be able to call themselves a Pequot. I am proud to say I'm a Mashantucket Pequot. This is the history, folks. Because that particular day, that particular incident is when this country declared its second religious day of Thanksgiving. This is what we're celebrating, folks.
Pause that. Y'all heard what he said? That's when they declared the second Thanksgiving. So from 1621 all the way to 1637, there was no other Thanksgivings. There was no feasting with the Indians. They didn't do that from every year. What happened was they did it that one time after they had enough power, after they felt like they had enough power to take over the land. They did it. They went to war, put them in slaves, killed a lot of people, and then what they do afterwards? They had a second Thanksgiving. They had the second Thanksgiving. This is the history that they don't tell us. Let's finish that off to 3 minutes.
And for all of you who took pictures of me with my nice little pilgrim head buddy here, I hope you get the story that goes with it, because anyone who sees this, I'm sure, thinks I'm a sick, twisted individual. This is a reminder. This is what Hallmark greeting cards and Charlie Brown cartoons should be showing when we celebrate this holiday every year, when we celebrate Columbus Day every year, because this is what it represented. I'm going to shut my mouth so we can get on way with this march through town, because we need all of you who are here to get this story out to the people. I can only visit so many schools in this time that I am here on this earth. And I can only visit those.
Go to 4 minutes and 54 seconds. 4:54. Right there, that's good. Play that.
King Philip, when he was killed, he was cut into pieces. The man who killed him was a Wampanoag, shot him in his own back. He got the hand of King Philip, Metacom. He got to parade around anywhere in New England, any tavern he showed up with that scarred hand of Philip. He got free drinks as long as he was there, because people were proud of him, that he had killed his own people. His head was severed, King Philip's head. King Philip is the son of Massasoit.
You remember we talked about Massasoit? Massasoit had, remember, he was part of that first, the so-called first Thanksgiving. He was the one that helped that create that peace treaty. Well, he had a son. His son was in charge. By 1637, his son was in charge. His name was Metacom, or they called him King Philip. He was the part of the ones that they came and killed, right?
People's aid just a generation before. And that's when they supposedly had their first Thanksgiving. Well, their third day of Thanksgiving was declared when they brought his son's head in on a pole and left it to rot for 20 odd years. So I'm going to walk this around Plymouth right now, and I'm going to remind folks of what we're celebrating here today. And I encourage all of you to get out to a library, get out to a school, even if it's your own. It better be your own kid's school, because this is what they're teaching your kids. I excuse my kids from school whenever they're being asked to dress up as pilgrims and Indians. There's so many injustices still going on.
He said, hey, I ain't let my kids go to school. They talking about dressing up as pilgrims and Indians, because they're telling a false narrative. And when you know the truth, guess what? You will be damned to participate, let alone let your kids participate, especially when you the people that they're celebrating destroying. You the descendants of those people. Go to book number 2, page 18. Do I got 18 on there? 18 probably is not on there. All right, we gonna move a little faster. Let's go to we did 20. Yeah, go back to page 20. So let's see what happened. So America know this history. Let's see what happened a couple hundred years later. Let's get go back to book 2, page 20. And we gonna read the pink part on down.
In 1863.
So remember, in 1637, that's when they slaughtered over 700 so-called Indians, started taking over the land. It was another war in 1675. We're not gonna go over all of it, but it was another war in 1675 where it was a worse slaughter than that one. It was a worse slaughter than that one. So guess what? So now it's 1800. We got president. America has been established. They didn't took most of the land, put them in reservations. It was crazy. They basically started taking over the land. Now America is becoming the Europeans. So now this what happened in 1863. Go ahead.
In 1863, President Abraham Lincoln created an official Thanksgiving holiday for the last Thursday in November.
So President Lincoln, he said, you know what? Let's make this a positive. Because remember, when you try to this is what America do. America is good at trying to make people patriotic. They try to make everybody patriotic. They try to take a negative thing and spin it as a positive and make everybody, this is a great nation. Like when everybody was kneeling in football and they just couldn't understand why you're not patriotic. This is the illusion. This is the trickery. This is the witchcraft that they go do. So this is what Abraham did. He tried to make Thanksgiving a positive. Say, yeah, we only go use that 1621 story, but we ain't gonna use the 1637. We ain't gonna tell none of that. How we slaughtered them and killed them and declared the second Thanksgiving. We only go use the 1621 story and stop it there. When you get the full story, that's when it makes like this is a celebration of slaughter. This is a celebration of right. Like these people, man, they protested every year. They protest Thanksgiving every year. Everybody in America is sitting down happy, and when people say Happy Thanksgiving, I tell them I don't celebrate Thanksgiving. I do the National Day of Mourning. And that makes them think like National Day of Mourning. What the hell is? They have to go look that up. You're banding with the so-called Indians, our people, our brothers and sisters, in their mourning. The whole so-called America is celebrating the death of their people, and don't even know it. Read that in 1863 again.
In 1863, President Abraham Lincoln created an official Thanksgiving holiday for the last Thursday in November. This was the start of celebrating Thanksgiving each year.
So this was the start. So what happened in 1941? Go ahead.
In 1941, the U.S. Congress wanted to set a fixed date for Thanksgiving. In some years, November has 4 Thursdays. In other years, it has 5. Congress chose the 4th Thursday in November to be the official day of Thanksgiving.
So in 1941, that's when it, because so it started off being the last Thursday, but since sometimes it has 5, they made it the 4th Thursday. So Abraham Lincoln used a political agenda to try to make Thanksgiving into this positive, give thanks for the family and God and all this crap. Go see what pages we got left. Did we show all the pages? Book 20. Okay, that was the last one. Okay, so let's go to the video. Let's see what the National Day of Mourning is. Let's see what the National Day of Mourning is. It's that the second one. Go over. Yeah. So let's see exactly what the the top one. Share it out. Go full screen and play it.
Raising their voices to be heard after feeling silenced for centuries.
Why do we gather today? 400.
No, it's CC right there. Turn it around.
100 years later, we join to raise our voices high that we are still here. We are not conquered and we are not defeated.
As many were enjoying the Thanksgiving parade, Indigenous people of Massachusetts protested the holiday that for them is not one to celebrate.
Plymouth is rich with history, but not the truth of the Indians.
Our presence here is a stark reminder of the true story of Thanksgiving that differs from so much from the fable story shared in classrooms, history books, and celebrations across this nation.
Since 1970, the Wampanoag tribe has declared Thanksgiving a national day of mourning for the loss of Indigenous people, culture, and land.
We will never forget the atrocities that fell upon our people as a result of their violent trespass.
Still today, the Wampanoag tribe continues to fight with the federal government over land.
Here we are about to celebrate Thanksgiving, and the fact that our tribe is still fighting for a little bit of land that we have. We own half of 1% of our ancestral territory. And 400 years later, we don't have much to be thankful for.
Well, we can't change the past, but what we can do is change the future. And the way that we change the future is to educate people and start understanding that this is not a day of celebration. This is a day of mourning.
So that's wow. He said at the 400 years later, we still only own half of 1% of the land that we originally had. That's crazy. That's crazy. Now let's see what happened. Go to you can stop sharing. Go to Sirach chapter 12. Let's see what happened to our people that got them, the so-called Indians, the northern tribe, the northern kingdom. Where did they go wrong? Let's get Sirach chapter 12 and verse 10.
Sirach chapter 12 and verse 10. Never trust thine enemy. Never trust thine enemy.
They trusted their enemy. They knew the Europeans were their enemy because they was the ones that was killing them with the diseases from 1616 to 1619. All right?
Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness.
Go to Psalms 55. He say like iron rust, just how their wickedness is. Psalms 55 and verse 21.
Psalms chapter 55 and verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter.
So that's how the pilgrims came. The words of their mouth was smooth like butter. Go ahead.
But there was war in his heart.
But he had war in his heart the whole time. He came with those smooth words, knowing that they had war in their mind the whole time. That's the first Thanksgiving that was BS. So they knew exactly what they was planning. Go ahead.
His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords.
He said, but they was drawn swords. Said the words were softer than oil, but them swords came out when they had the advantage. Go to Ezekiel 22. Ezekiel 22 and verse 28.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 22 and verse 28. He said Ezekiel, right?
Yeah.
Ezekiel 22 and verse 28. And her prophets have dubbed him with untempered mortar, sing vanity, and divining lies unto them.
It said, and lies unto them. Go ahead.
Saying, thus saith the Lord God, when the Lord has not spoken.
Because remember, thus they was talking about the Lord saved us. Go ahead.
Verse 29, the people of the land have used oppression.
So the people of America, how did they get America? They use oppression. Go ahead.
The people of the land have used oppression and exercised robbery and have vexed the poor and needy. Yea, they have oppressed the stranger wrongfully.
It said they have oppressed wrongfully. The so-called Indians, they were strangers. They oppressed them wrongfully. Go to Habakkuk 2. And we go read verse 12.
Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 12. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood.
It said, read that again.
Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood.
It's destruction. Destruction to him that builds a town with blood. This so-called nation of the United States of America, it was built with blood. Go ahead.
And establisheth a city by iniquity.
And establish a city using sin. Verse 13.
Verse 13. Behold, it is not of the Lord of hosts that the people shall labor in the very fire.
It said, it is not of the Lord. It wasn't of the Lord. They try to make it that it was of the Lord. Go ahead.
And the people shall weary themselves for very vanity.
Go to Nahum 3 and 1.
Nahum chapter 3 and verse 1. Woe to the bloody city.
It say what?
Woe to the bloody
city.
It
say that's why this nation, the United States of America, friend, all these people that built their cities with blood, destruction is coming. It said vengeance is of the Lord. You think you can touch his people and get away with it? And get away with it? Read that again.
Woe to the bloody city. It is all full of lies.
It said it is what?
It is all full of lies.
The bloody city is all full of lies. Every holiday is a damn lie in America. Every damn holiday is a lie. Buddy don't lay eggs. Ain't no Santa Claus coming down your chimney. The Thanksgiving, it wasn't no peace. It wasn't no happy pilgrims and Indians celebrating happily, eating turkey and cranberry sauce around the table.
And we were not free on Independence Day.
And we was
the irony.
The irony. Independence Day. Celebrate Independence Day. We slave. Every damn holiday is a lie. Read that again.
Nahum chapter 3 and verse 1. Woe to the bloody city. It is all full of lies.
It's all full of lies. It's talking about United States of America. Go ahead.
And robbery.
And robbery. And robbery. These scriptures is nothing new under the sun. It's nothing new under the sun. Was that it on that?
The prey departed not.
So it says full of lies. Why should you not do any false holiday? Go to Exodus 23. Why should you not do any false holiday? Because all people know it's false. But when you rebuke people on it, I'll just do it for family. Everybody become Dom off Fast and Furious. Family. Everybody, I just do it for family. That means how can you make an excuse for doing something that's all about lies? And then turn around and say, I love everybody. God loves everybody. And you celebrating a holiday where these people are depressed. If y'all look at that video, they was depressed. The whole nation is celebrating the death of their forefathers. That's their descendants of them people. They still in the same town in Massachusetts, in Plymouth. They still in the same town where their people were slaughtered. They couldn't go nowhere. Where was they gonna go? They still there. And the people of the town, remind you, if you think Thanksgiving is big, imagine it being big. Imagine how big it is in the place where it was supposedly done. In Boston, New England, Plymouth. It's an actual town, Plymouth. Imagine how big it is there. If you think it's big in your little city, that's where it was at. Right. It's literally them against the whole world. But we gonna stand with them. We go bring the message out with them. Exodus 23:7. Why you shouldn't do any false holidays? Let's see what the scriptures say.
Exodus 23:7. Keep thee far from a false matter.
What the Bible say?
Keep thee far from a false matter.
The Bible says stay away from false matters. Stay away from false matters. Because that's how you stay innocent. You can't be part of lies. And then when you find out it's a lie, you still participate. That means you're not innocent anymore. Read that again.
Keep thee far from a false matter, and the innocent and righteous slay thou not. For I will not justify the wicked.
He said, I will not justify the wicked. He say, stay innocent. When you don't keep yourself away from a false matter, guess what? You're not innocent anymore. You bear those sins now. Go to Sirach 34.
I'll touch on something real quick. Yeah. If you read verse 7, where it say, and the innocent and righteous slay thou not, or you celebrate these wicked holidays, well, holidays in general of America, you are actively participating in the slaughter of the innocent. That's what it's saying.
Right.
You basically bearing that iniquity. You saying you in agreement with that. You done made a covenant with it.
Exactly. You hit it right on the nose. You making a covenant with falsehoods. Let's get that in Isaiah 28. You making a covenant with falsehoods. Why would you know it's a falsehood, but it's just for family. It's just for family. Come on, man. If you don't stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything, man. You got to stand up for something in your life. That's the only day you can see your family, huh? Isaiah 28 and 15.
Isaiah 28 and verse 15. Because ye have said, we have made a covenant with death.
Said we made a covenant with death. Go ahead.
And with hell are we at agreement.
You had an agreement with hell. That was hell. That was hell for the indigenous people. By you celebrating it, you agree with it. That's the mental Olympics with it. You agree with what happened to those people forefathers. Go ahead.
Because ye have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us. For we have made lies our refuge.
He said we did what?
We have made lies our refuge.
He said we made lies our refuge. Let's look up that word refuge. Go to Google real quick. Let's look up that word refuge. He said we made lies our refuge. REFUGE. Right there. Read that out. Share that out. Hold on. Let's read both of them.
Refuge, a condition of being safe or sheltered from pursuit, danger, or trouble. He was forced to take refuge in the French embassy.
Refuge. Or sheltered. A condition of being safe or sheltered. Go back to read that scripture again.
Isaiah chapter 28 and verse 15. Because ye have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us. For we have made lies our refuge.
It said you made lies your safe place. That's why when people celebrate these things, you make lies your safe place. Family. We all have a good time. Family. That's your safe under false pretense. You made lies your safe place. Go ahead.
And under falsehood.
And under a falsehood, under lies, go ahead.
Have we hid ourselves?
That's where you hide yourself. You hide yourself under falsehoods when you participate in holidays that you know are lies. Go to Sirach 34. Sirach 34 and verse 4.
The book of Sirach, chapter 34 and verse 4. Of an unclean thing, what can be cleansed?
And so something that's you can't clean, you can't wash your cabinet with a dirty rag. You can't wash your counter with a dirty rag. It's of an unclean thing, what can be cleansed? Go ahead.
Of an unclean thing, what can be cleansed? And from that thing which is false.
And from something that's false, go ahead.
What truth can come?
Can't nothing true come from something that's false. It's impossible. Can't no good thing. You talk about family and all we doing for family. Can't nothing good come out you doing Thanksgiving or any false holiday. Ain't no truth gonna come. All it is a gang of people acting blind to the truth.
Getting drunk.
You just acting blind to the truth.
That's all they doing is
They don't want to see. What if somebody at the Thanksgiving Day turn it off football and pull up the one of these videos of the National Day of Mourning?
They gonna call them a buzzkill.
You killing the party. Like, no, we don't want to see that, man. Because you hiding yourself under falsehoods. You can't. It's people. That's people don't want the truth. People just don't want the truth. Go to Ezekiel 13. Ezekiel 13, verse 20. This is how you know if somebody is righteous. Ezekiel 13 and 22.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 13, and verse 22. Because with lies,
go ahead.
You have made the heart of the righteous sad.
You see that? People who righteous, lies make them sad. That's how you know somebody is wicked. When they can just let a lie live strong. They make a lie their tradition. But the righteous, lies make them sad. Lies make the righteous sad. A righteous man cannot hear what happened to all these so-called Indians, all these tribes, the rape, robbery, and murder of them, and then still go and celebrate Thanksgiving like ain't nothing happened. Knowing that it's a lie. You better check your heart, man. If you can celebrate this holiday with no guilt, you wicked as hell. You wicked as hell. If you can do that with no guilt. Read that again.
Ezekiel 13 and verse 22. Because with lies ye have made the heart of the righteous sad, whom I have not made sad, and strengthened the hands of the wicked.
It said you strengthen the hands of the wicked when you celebrate lies. Go ahead.
That he should not return from his wicked way by promising him life.
It said people not gonna return from their wicked ways when you're participating in it with them. You're not rebuking nobody. You're not rebuking them saying, look, man, this is wrong. You're participating it with them. Go to Jeremiah 16. And we go here 17. Because after when God put everything in order, Christ come back, God's chosen people take the kingdom back, what's going to happen? Jeremiah 16 and 17.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 16 and verse 17. For mine eyes are upon all their ways. They are not hid from my face, neither is their iniquity hid from mine eyes.
So God see everything. Go ahead.
And first, I will recompense their iniquity and their sin double, because they have defiled my land. They have filled my inheritance with the carcasses of their detestable and abominable things.
Go ahead.
Lord, my strength and my fortress and my refuge, in the day of affliction, the Gentiles shall come unto thee.
So he said the heathens, the Gentiles, they go come unto you. Go ahead.
From the ends of the earth.
And they go come to God, the heathen, they go come to God and say what?
And shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies.
As they go say, our fathers have inherited lies. That's what they go say. That's what the so-called Jewish man go say. That's what the so-called Edomites go say. They go say, our fathers have inherited lies. Lies passed down generation. They just been passed down. And the Gentiles gonna know this. And they gonna say, surely our fathers have inherited lies. Go ahead.
Vanity in things wherein there is no profit.
Wherein there is no profit. That's what they gonna say. Our fathers have inherited lies, passed them down to us. Go to John 8:44.
The book of John, chapter 8, and verse 44. Ye are of your father, the devil.
He said, ye are of the father, your father, the devil. Go ahead.
And the lust of your father ye will do.
He said, the lust of your father, that's what you gonna do. Go ahead.
He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him.
Go ahead.
When he speaketh a lie,
When he said, when Satan speak a lie, go ahead.
He speaketh of his own.
He speak of his own. Go ahead.
For he is a liar and the father of it.
Go ahead.
And because I tell you the truth, you believe me not.
And it said that because I tell you the truth, this is what Christ said. I tell you the truth, you believe me not. This is going into when we tell people the truth about Thanksgiving, when we tell people the truth about Christmas, when we tell people the truth about these wicked holidays. He said, what he said? He said, and because I tell you the truth, you believe me not.
Which of you convinceth me of sin? And if I say the truth, why do ye not believe me? He that is of God heareth God's word. Ye therefore hear them not, because ye are not of God.
Because you are not of God. That's why they don't hear it. Give me that scripture where I say, a feast maketh a merry heart. So I know everybody wanted, you got the day off, the family in town, it's the so-called holidays. You don't give a damn about no Indians, no pilgrims. You don't give a damn about the history. You don't give a damn about the truth. You just want to have a good time, feast, eat some good food, talk stuff with your family. I get that. You got it out? I get that. I get that. Everybody want to do that. Everybody want to do that. Was it apocrypha? Give me these 10 and 19.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 10 and verse 19. A feast is made for laughter.
You see that? So it said a feast is made for laughter. So we know a feast is a good time.
And wine maketh merry, but money answereth all things.
So the scriptures say a feast is made for laughter and to have a good time. So we get that. But what's the difference? Zechariah 8 and verse 19.
Zechariah 8 and 19. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the fast of the 4th month, and the fast of the 5th, and the fast of the 7th, and the fast of the 10th shall be the house of Judah. The house shall be to the house of Judah joy and gladness.
It says joy and gladness. Go ahead.
And cheerful feast.
And cheerful feast. Go ahead.
Therefore, love the truth.
It say, therefore, do what?
Love the truth and peace.
It say, a cheerful feast are for those that love the truth and peace. So guess what? If you're going to have a good time with a feast, it's for people that love the truth. You can't feast under the pretense of lies. You can't have fellowship because who is the father of lies? The devil. You're fellowshipping with Satan at that time, at that point. You can't fellowship with Satan because only the people that fellowship with God are the ones that love the truth. Go to Wisdom of Solomon 3 and verse 9. Ain't celebrate, have a cheerful feast under a gang of lies? The whole feast is a damn lie.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3 and verse 9. They that put their trust in him shall understand the truth.
It say, they that put their trust in God go understand the truth. That's the difference. The people who understand the truth, they got to stand up for the truth. You can't just not fall for any people that just celebrate. They fall for anything. They fall for anything. If you're willing to celebrate lies, knowing they lies, but it's just family, you will fall for anything. You have something about it? Okay, look like you want to get some.
Yeah, for a minute.
So, give me a Revelation 2. Revelation 2 and verse 2.
Book of Revelation, chapter 2 and verse 2. Revelation chapter 2 and verse 2. I know thy works and thy labor and thy patience, and how thou canst not bear them which are evil.
It said you can't bear them that are evil. This is how people who understand the truth, this is how they feel. You can't bear them that are evil. Why I'm finna celebrate with these evil people that raped, robbed, murdered these people that helped them? Now they want to celebrate it every year. That's read that again.
Revelation 2 and verse 2. I know thy works and thy labor and thy patience, and how thou canst not bear them which are evil.
Now, this ain't talking to you people that celebrate Thanksgiving, because you can bear them that's evil. Matter of fact, you're with them. Go ahead.
And thou hast tried them which say they are apostles.
And it say the righteous people who can't bear evil, you try them. We try them. We put them on trial. We tell them the truth. So it said you try them that say they are apostles. Go ahead.
And are not.
But they not apostles. They not pastors. They're not from God. They're from the father, the devil, because they partake in lies. Go ahead.
And has found them liars.
And you have found them what?
And has found them liars.
And have found them damn liars. That's the difference from the people that understand the truth. The people who understand the truth, you will never see them celebrating wicked, false holidays. That's the thing about coming to Christ. That's the thing about coming to God. Is what if you say you part of the truth, because Christ said he is the way, he is the truth. You won't partake in lies anymore. You can't partake in lies. Your spirit won't let you. That's the difference. That's how if somebody tell you they got the spirit of Christ and then they just could continue follow lies, What the hell? It ain't nothing to say. What the hell? Do that make sense? Christ system said, I'm the truth. People who are in the truth can't bear lies anymore. They get out of them. Their life start to change. You get out of those lies. That's the difference. So I pray that edification went out. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of more information with that history. We just covered the basics of it. But there is these two resources right here that you can get. Good reads. This one is a lot more detailed on what was going on, and the backstory, front story, middle story. But with that, I would like to give all honor and glory. Before that, let's hit Matthew 26. Let's get Matthew 26 before we close it on down. And you better believe we're going to be out there rebuking Thanksgiving tomorrow. We're going to be out there rebuking it. Standing with our brothers, the National Day of Mourning.
Book of Matthew, chapter 26, starting at verse 6. Now when Jesus was in Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman, having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, To what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Jesus understood it, he said unto them, Why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me. For ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always. For in that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this, that this woman hath done, be told for a memorial of her.
So once again, all praise to the Most High, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of Israel. Peace to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Rebuke that Thanksgiving tomorrow. That's the best thing you can do. Go out, rebuke it. Let the truth come out. Let the truth come out. Let the real history speak. Let people know what they're doing. A lot of people don't know. They go say it family. They go hit you with the dime. So with that, we say shalom.